My name's Tim Brown. So we're going to go from talking about a huge organization to a tiny little organization. So I apologize for that. But I thought maybe the easiest way for me to frame up what I've learned about this topic is to tell a little story about how we evolved as an organization. When we created IDEO back in 1991, we brought together two very different cultures. We brought together a culture of engineering, design-based engineering, but engineering all the same, and a culture of traditional European design, which I was part of, to form IDEO, with the view that we would be more interesting creatively if we could get these two cultures to work together. And looking back on it, it took us about 10 years to figure out how to get that to work. It took us a long time. I mean, we did great work in that time. We had a lot of fun, but it took us that long, I think, to figure out quite how to get these different disciplines to play well together. And so after having gone through that process, when we started thinking about how we were going to change more in the future and how we wanted to bring more disciplines into IDEO because we believed that innovation was getting more complex and that we needed to have a kind of broader set of perspectives, a lot of the things that you've been hearing about today, we started to get a bit more thoughtful, a little bit more mindful about what it was that might cause us to be either successful or not successful at that, might accelerate the process of bringing interesting new people into our little organization to do interesting work. And so looking back on it now, I think what we essentially got to was a framework of which the T-shaped idea is an important part, but it's not the only part. And so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about that. Firstly, I think you've got to understand why you want people to collaborate. And we've heard a lot about how the world's more complex and we need to solve for more complex problems, and there's a strong logic to that. For us, it was very simple. We just wanted better creative collaboration. We had always believed that innovation was a team sport. We'd long since gone past the idea that it was individual lone geniuses that invented the most interesting things in the world. It was never true, but even the myth was clearly not true by the time we arrived in the world. So we knew that we needed better creative collaboration. And I think what we've learned is that there are really kind of three components of it, and I'll alliterate it in a hopefully convenient way of purpose, people, and process. Right. So I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter how good you are at building teams and at getting people to collaborate. If you don't have a strong sense of purpose, people won't collaborate. If you don't have a reason for what you're doing, people will find lots of reasons not to collaborate and go off and do their own stuff, right? And so having a sense of purpose, I believe, is fundamentally important. And I think that actually many organizations get themselves into trouble at that very first step. They actually don't have a sense of purpose other than pleasing shareholders, which has never been a sense of purpose in my opinion. So for us, our sense of purpose has always been creating the most impact we can out of the design we do. Right? If we don't make a dent on the world through the work we do, we don't think we deserve to be around. And so that was a kind of coalescing idea for us, and remains a coalescing idea for us. And then when it comes to people, this notion of T-shaped is tremendously important. And Jim, I think you mentioned earlier that when I last wrote about it a little while ago, I was thinking that, like everybody else, that vertical T is all about technical skills, or in my world, I might also include craft, the ability to actually really practice those technical skills. It's not just knowledge about them, but the ability to take that knowledge and make it tangible in the world in some way. I was talking about how that sort of that lateral stroke was about empathy. I actually think now that it's about a whole set of social skills, of which empathy is one, but storytelling is another one. We've heard about that this morning. Collaboration, one we keep talking about, and learning. The ability to learn and learn fast and learn with others is a social skill, and I think it's tremendously important to successful T-shaped practitioners, if you will. So I think when we think about education, we heard mention earlier of the importance of bringing kind of liberal arts and technical education together. Well, I think if you think about this as social skills and technical skills, that becomes obvious, right? It becomes obvious that we need to educate people to be competent at both. But there's another piece of the people puzzle that I think is important. It's not enough just to hire T-shaped people. Those people have to be values-based, and they have to fit within the values of your organization. Because again, if people don't share values, it doesn't matter how able they are to collaborate, they don't really have a reason to want to collaborate. Or put it another way, there are too many places where people can kind of misbehave, which destroys the collaboration. So we have a pretty strong set of values at IDEO, and pretty much the only reason you get to leave IDEO in a non-voluntary way is because you contravene those values in a significant way. We're pretty good, I think, at hiring for competence. We try very hard to hire for values, but it's not always easy to spot, and therefore we test very hard for that as people spend their careers with the firm. So I think the combination of T-shapedness and values is quite important. And then finally, process. I think if you, again, if you're bringing people together, even if they've got strong social skills, when they've got very different disciplinary skills, technical skills, and IDEO, it's a very broad set, and we have very technical people, software engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, we have social scientists, we have architects and designers, we have writers, filmmakers, we have practicing physicians, we have practicing chefs, we have food scientists. I mean, it's a pretty broad set of disciplines, right? And it's pretty hard to get all those folks to work together. I think you need some kind of shared framework for that. You need shared values, you need shared purpose, but I think you also need some sort of shared process. And you know, we call in our organization, for us, that's design thinking, right? I spend a lot of my time in our organization reminding ourselves that we're all designers. We may not have all gone to design school, but we're using a design-based methodology to do what we do. Now, clearly, that is not appropriate for all organizations or even many organizations, but for us, that's the shared process that we've chosen to be the thing that everybody can kind of collaborate around. That and there are parts of that process we essentially expect to be part of that sort of lateral social skill component of the T. So we expect everybody in the organization to take this concept of empathy and apply it in the world. We expect everybody to be able to go out, spend time with users, consumers, whatever you want to call them, understanding their lives and understanding how their lives work so that they can bring those insights back to the design process. Now, we don't expect everybody to be able to design a circuit board or code a piece of software or do some of the other things that many of our folks know how to do, but we do expect everybody to at least have that sort of human bit of the human-centered design process in their kind of portfolio of skills. So having components of shared process has been very important to us. So that's a kind of a simple story and a simple framework for how we found ourselves approaching this idea of talent at IDEO. And it, as I say, it works at our tiny little scale. You know, we're 700 people, we're very small. But we have got very high diversity. And I think it really has helped us make the best use of that diverse group of people. And then I guess the last thing that I would mention, and apologies to the other academic institutions that are here doing a great job, but I mean, what the experiment that we've been running along with Stanford with the D School, I think has been an interesting experiment in kind of T-shapedness. You know, that you can, at least at a graduate level, and the plan is to bring it to all undergraduates as well, give kids the opportunity to collaborate with the skills that they're learning from the engineering school, the medical school, the business school, the school of education, wherever it might be, in a project-based environment, give them a sense of purpose, and have them learn about each other and contribute to each other's perspectives in quite a productive way in a surprisingly short period of time, at least enough to give them a sense of what might be possible. And obviously the best of them go on and then continue to practice that or find other places to continue to get educated. Because it's been mentioned already, and I'm a deep believer in this, that skills are not acquired, they're mastered, and mastery takes time. And so I guess my last point would be, don't let's kid ourselves that a couple of classes in sort of interdisciplinariness, or a couple of classes in how T-shapedness works, is going to equip students for a career. We need to equip them with the tools that allow them to master these skills over time. And I think that also includes reconvincing industry that it's part of their job, our job, also to provide opportunities for mastery over time. Thanks very much.